Now, the governing ANC has been convening meetings to discuss the Phala Phala Panel report. The meeting yesterday of the NEC was adjourned after it was resolved that the party's National Working Committee should first look into the Section 89 findings. Now, the National Executive Committee will convene on Monday, while the NWC is set to sit tomorrow at Nasrec, south of Johannesburg, the site of this month's ANC elective conference. Now, joining us now to share his thoughts on the inner workings of the ANC's decision-making structures is former Treasurer General and party veteran Mathews Phosa. Dr. Phosa, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika. President Ramaphosa didn't show up for the special NEC set to deliberate over that report yesterday, leading to that meeting being ended abruptly. Failing to follow the correct processes is said to be at the center of the problem. What's your understanding?
Well, I was not sitting in NEC. And I did not ask President Ramaphosa why he did not go there. I don't know what relevance is that on the topic you want to discuss with me.
Well, I will be expanding, Dr. Phosa, on the inner workings of the ANC. That meeting was something rather significant yesterday. Well, it was at least meant to be. So, Treasurer General Paul Mashatile says that President Ramaphosa has not formally engaged the party over the Section 89 panel. We learned that he's consulting outside the party structures. Would that be a cause of concern for the ANC?
Not at all. President Ramaphosa is entitled to consult whoever he wishes to consult. His lawyers and many other advisors like myself, if he wants to. And we've spent quite a bit of this afternoon talking about the merits of this whole thing. The NEC did something very strange in the history of the movement. When you have a matter like this one, you definitely must do what they decided to do yesterday. This is where they should have started. Present the report to the officials to digest and process. And then the officials must present it to the NWC. Then the NWC must present it to the NEC to avoid having officials boxing in front of the NEC. To tighten and discipline the structures from officials, NWC to NEC. There was an error there. I'm sure they are correcting it now. I'll give the NEC credit for correcting it.
Yeah. And some analysts and critics are saying that the independent panel looking into the Phala Phala matter has failed to deliver a report of the necessary impeccable quality and credibility, and that for the president to leave office on the basis of this flawed report would be plainly unjust. What are your thoughts on the position of the president?
Let me tell you the position of the report, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I as a lawyer, I hold Justice Ngcobo in high regard and all members of his panel. I respect them, but I reserve the right to differ from them. The report is deeply flawed and hatchet. In Afrikaans, they call it konkelwerk. Number one, if you look at paragraph 69 of that report, and I'll take it step by step through some paragraphs, it's very clear that the report is based on hearsay evidence throughout. They were not allowed to convene people to come and testify before them. They were not allowed to give oral evidence, to get oral evidence before them, which they could interrogate and find out what the truth would be. Paragraph 75 is very clear as to what they're supposed to investigate and determine whether there will have been a prima facie case. But nowhere in their mandate does it say that they must find whether the president is guilty of constitutional violation or violation of a law or is guilty of a misconduct. It doesn't say so. If you look at paragraph 78, which is very, very important of their own report, it indicates the type of useless information they were exposed to. Sworn statement, unsworn statement, press releases, statement by political parties. I mean, nothing is interrogated there. And then we come to a condition on that basis. And what is shocking is paragraph 80. If you look at that report very clinical, like I've been doing, in paragraph 80 they lament, they say the South African Reserve Bank had appeared before Parliament, but that information was not disclosed to them. Why? The South African police services also had a stint with Parliament. Why was that information not disclosed to the panel? Why? And what is worse, in the President's submission, there are 8 institutions of state, 8 like this. They all are investigating the President. None of them gave the panel evidence. Why? South Africans must ask themselves questions. Because if you want to find anything wrong with the President, you need to have all the facts from these 8 institutions, from South African Reserve Bank, even from SARS, before the panel or before the police investigators. Then you can begin to say whether or not there was a prima facie case.
Yeah.
Let me tell you for nothing. As a practicing attorney, the only time you can make a finding of prima facie evidence is if you have had a trial where you have had viva voce evidence, which is oral evidence. And on the basis of what you have heard from the President orally, then you say there is a prima facie case against you or not. There is no basis now. Prima facie case in law has got a meaning. You should not just use it lightly. You must understand Parliament is not the state attorney. It is the prerogative of state attorney, the NPA and the Hawks, to drive the process where you can say, yes, a charge against the President. The President is not charged right now, not even of corruption. He's not charged. Nothing. Now you're asking the President to respond to air, fresh air blowing in the coast of Cape Town.
So the President has also briefed his legal team to begin the process to take the Section 89 panel report on review. I mean, much of what you've said, just highlighting what could be flawed within that report, I'd imagine you'd think that that should form some of the substance which will come with this process.
I've shared all this information with the President and more, because I think the rule of law must apply. The rule of natural justice must apply. The President must be given the same right as any citizen in this country. You cannot find him guilty on the face of just allegations or hearsay. Get the facts of the 8 institutions, get the facts from SARS, get the facts from South African Revenue, and then charge him if you think there's a case. And a very interesting thing, no one is asking this country, who brought the money? What is the name of this person who brought the money? The Reserve Bank should be ceased with that matter, because that's where the problem starts. That's where the crime begins. Not who received the money, but who brought the money. There may be a criticism against the President, he's not an angel, but who brought the money? So let's not put the President in the court of public opinion and find him guilty on hearsay evidence, without giving him an opportunity to respond. I think it's jungle justice, it's kangaroo justice. The country must not subject itself to that.
Yeah. And of course, I mean, listening to how you're reacting and really scrutinizing the report from a legal perspective, there is also, I mean, politics at play here, with questions around whether or not the President should at least resign or step aside. I know that you've expressed your opinions about the step-aside rule, saying that it's illegal in terms of the ANC's constitution. What options do you think the President should be looking at this point in time, taking the matter on review being one step, but in the midst of it, there's a lot going on. Conference is only a few days away.
But let me assist you. I was one of the architects of step-aside document.
Yes.
But I've always argued that in applying it, you don't suspend the rules of natural justice, because you will cause injustices. And that's a matter for another day. It's true, Parliament is trying to debate this matter. It is their right. It is their prerogative. It was their panel which they've invited to deal with the matter. But I think ANC cadres will take on arguments I'm raising now and say, what do you mean? I mean, this is hearsay. And they'll repeat what I've said, because it's factual and no one can dispute what I've said. It's all true. And this report is flawed, it's hashed, it's konkelwerk. It must be dismissed as far as I'm concerned with the contempt it deserves, while I reserve my respect for the judges.
So a little earlier on, Phosa, you were saying that you have told the President of this, angle that you're speaking to here, the position. Does this mean, as we heard about how he's consulting, that you are one of the people that he's consulting?
No, I'm not one of the people he's consulting, but he's my comrade. We're classmates for many years. We've come a long way. We've been in NEC together. He served in my FinCom when I was treasurer. I have a responsibility to the truth. And I think the president must be defended with the truth, not with hearsay evidence and wild allegations.
And, just broadening this discussion, what would, if we had to, yes, you speak about a flawed report, but on a bigger stance, what would the implications of removing a sitting president in such a political climate mean? Could it be considered a drastic step for democracy?
Let me tell you, it will be an abortion of democracy. There is no evidence. There is no basis for removing him at the moment.
Yeah.
There's not even any evidence. There's no reason for him to step aside. He's not charged. We said in the rules of step aside, if you are charged. He's not charged. Why should he step aside? From what? He's just like me and you. We're sitting with no criminal cases facing us. The president's got a lot of noise to respond to. I don't think he should even respond to that noise. My mother taught me one lesson. When the dogs bark, don't bark.
With all the noise, how much of an impact do you think that's having on the image of the ANC and the president's position?
Well, it's clear. I want to concede that. The ANC's image is battered. Not only because of this matter, but also because of other issues which have nothing to do with the president. We can go on and debate that issue. But we must not use other issues of corruption which arise from our party as issues about the president. I think it won't be fair. I just want fairness to the president because he's just another citizen like all of us. Why must he be hanged with no evidence?
Would you think that the governing party is going through a meltdown at this point?
It's not a meltdown, it's a crisis. It's a very serious crisis. It worries me. If you read my last public speech, actually I'm very worried that the people are losing confidence in the party. But this is something which we can repair if we wake up from our sleep and understand that we are there to serve our people, not to serve individuals.
The EFF's Floyd Shivambu this afternoon was speaking and answering questions on whether or not, his thoughts around reports that the president was in fact advised not to resign. His response was that those who advised him are not protecting Ramaphosa, but instead protecting their own interests. What would you say to such a remark?
I have respect for Comrade Shivambu, but he's entitled to his views even when he's wrong. I'll defend him to be wrong.
And, we learned this afternoon that the NWC will be sitting tomorrow and that the NEC on Monday. With all these changes after learning that yesterday was an urgent meeting that everyone had to attend, or the members had to attend to, and nothing coming out of it. What sort of, a lot of South Africans are speaking around the anxiety that they're feeling around not really knowing what the outcome will be, what the president will say. What sort of reassurance do you think South Africans should be looking at this point in time?
I think the people are entitled to be anxious. The president is the leader of the country, a very big country, big economy, and everybody wants certainty. And I can tell you there will be those who want the president to go, and then we have had those noises, but there will be those who want the president to stay. And if you ask me, I'm saying that there is no reason for him to go, and I want to assure the public I think the president will stay and continue to go and contest elections in December, and then go on. And the rest will be judged by history. There's no crisis here. Someone once said, what crisis? And I think I mean it. What crisis?
Yeah.
There's uncertainty, yes, and the people are entitled to be worried. And I think ANC should move quickly to remove this uncertainty and conjecture in the air.
What about former President Thabo Mbeki speaking about how the ANC has to prepare for the political aftermath of the Phala Phala probe into the president? What's your position on those remarks?
He's not saying anything smart or new. We all know that if there's a fallout after Phala Phala, we have to deal with that. Comrade Mbeki is not saying anything new, really, or anything special. He's one of us. We respect him, but I don't attach much value on that.
Okay, very well. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for speaking to us this afternoon. And, of course, we're going to have to leave it there for now. Dr. Mathews Phosa.